All right, we are here to interview Dorothy Carter. So
Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, if you want to talk,
Go.
just trying to control what I'm doing. Actually, so first of all, tell us when you were born.
1940, October 6th.
Mm-hmm. All right, where were you born?
At home, I think.
At home, you think? All right, where'd you grow up?
Providence Community.
Providence Community. And who are your parents?
O.V. Witt Mandrell and Reuben Benjamin Mandrell.
Mm-hmm. Had to get a drink. I'm sorry, I'm thirsty. All right. Tell us about your childhood.
I don't know much about my childhood. Me and Betty grew up on Dutch Creek, and we had an older sister, and she was 12 years older than me, May Garrison, and she was married just a few years after I can remember, you know. And me and Betty was real close. I watched after her, and she was always. We waited for the school bus up at Clark's store, and we would get $2 lunch money every week, and it was $1.25, I think, to eat at school, and we got 75 cents extra. And Betty was always a spender, so she spent hers. And we always got something to eat usually when we come home from school up at the store. So we shared my 75 cents usually. And we waited till mom worked at the Portland shirt factory, and Daddy would always come to the Clark store to pick her up. So we waited usually till she got off from work and got home before he come and picked us up, and then we all got home together. Or if we got picked up early, Betty did the house cleaning and I did the cooking. And then during the summer, we did the laundry in a Ringer type washing machine out on the front porch. And we had to carry our water to fill the washing machine up and to fill the rinse tub. And we went to school at Providence. And when Providence was having revival, we would leave school and go to the revival, stay at the revival, and then we go back to school. And we walked to school and back. And it was a 2-room school. We called it the big room and the little room. And we just had 2 rooms, so we went there until we got old enough to come to Westmoreland to the high school. But we had mom and dad had appendicitis surgery, a ruptured appendix, and it was big. He stayed in the hospital, and they told mom that if he lasted for 3 days that he had a chance, but they couldn't tell her for 3 days, you know. Then after he got out of the hospital, he couldn't do any work for a long time. And so we came to Westmoreland, and across from BP, where Cynthia Fishburne's beauty shop is now, mom and dad run a restaurant, and we lived upstairs and went to school in Westmoreland. And I graduated in 59, and Betty graduated in 60, I think. And
now, when you caught the bus at Clark's store, that's when you were going to high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming to Westmoreland. Yeah.
But otherwise, you walked up Providence Hill to Providence. Okay.
Yeah.
Who were some of the people? First of all, who was your teacher at Providence?
We had a Mr. Herschel Thornton and a Miss Lucille Black and Miss Vera Clark. She was my first grade teacher. And I rode to school with her when I was in first grade because she lived in Clark Hall. She came right by where we lived, so I rode with her to school. And that's all I can really remember. Seemed like there was
Did Oscar Perry, did he teach at that time over there? No, okay.
No, he was earlier.
Okay.
But there was a Simpson lady that taught, but I can't think of what her first name was. And I was scared to death when I come to high school, because we've been coming out of a 2-room school and coming to high school was like leaving the country and going into town. You
Yeah.
know, so I was scared to death, but me and Francis King, Halcomb now, and Sarah Carter, Glenn Carter's sister, Sarah. I think she married a Simpson. I think, and then
Her phone just went off.
they were divorced, and she married somebody else now. I don't know. I saw her at the last school class reunion we had, but I don't know.
But y'all went to high school together.
Yeah, we went to high school together. We
Sounds
graduated
fun.
together, and we started in the old school building on the hill, the old high school building on the hill.
Yeah.
And then it burned, and we didn't get to. We moved to the new building later on. I can't remember exactly when, but later on. But I think we was the first freshman class to graduate from the new high school building.
And is that what is now the middle school?
That's where the middle school is
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
That was the new high school at the
Yeah, it
time.
was
Yeah,
the
I
new
thought
high school
so.
at
I
the
just
time,
had to
yeah.
be sure.
And I graduated with Francis King, Sarah Carter, the Gregory twins, Jack and Janine, James Garrison, Joe Braswell, Jimmy Stinson, Kay Trout, and Peggy Doris, and Shirley Graves, which is Shirley Clark now, and I don't know why we didn't have a real big class. Darstrat was in our class, and off the top of my head, that's all I can remember right now.
Who were some of your teachers when you were in high school?
Miss Margaret Law, Miss Reese Maggard, Mr. Higgins, he was the principal part of the time. Miss Pellegrin, Miss Pruitt from Portland. Her husband was Jack Pruitt, the highway patrol. She was a sweet lady. And Mr. Wagner, he was a math teacher. And Miss Law was an English teacher. Miss Rees and Miss Pellegrin was home economics. And Miss Pellegrin taught shorthand and typing. And Miss Pruitt taught shorthand and typing. And I can't think of nobody else right now.
On the teacher's note, so many of my generation took Miss Law as such an inspiration and thought so much of her.
She was a great woman.
She was a great woman. She was, no offense, but she was fairly young when she taught. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because her husband got drowned. They were on vacation in Florida, and her husband drowned in Florida. I don't know if he, I don't know what caused the drowning, where he had a heart attack or where I don't know what happened. But she never changed her name from Mrs. Joe Y. Law after he passed away. And when Ed passed away, they asked me at the bank if I wanted to change my name. But I said no. And the boys thought that was kind of silly that I didn't want to change my name on my checks, And the girl, Pam Perry, was the one that was working with me. And she said, well, I know one lady that never changed hers, and I knew exactly who she's talking about. She's talking about Miss Law. So, yeah. And we always, instead of saying Miss Law, most time we say Miss Law. And sound like it was S-L-A-W, And she'd laugh about it. And I can't think of nobody else. But I did not like math. And if it hadn't been for poor Mr. Wagner, I probably never passed math because
Gee, that's where I get that gene.
Oh, wow.
he stayed on me all the time about it. You can do better, and and he was a good man, and I don't know if I'd ever passed it, hadn't been for him or not.
Mm.
But that's really the only thing I ever had problem with was math, you know, and I had to really concentrate. Algebra was awful for me. I
Yeah.
couldn't.
Me too.
And that's what both of my boys like that, you know,
Mhm.
especially Troy. He loves math, you know, and he's good at it. But I never was very good at nothing.
Well, here's I'm not trying to hijack it.
It's
but we're-
fine,
we're
go
going
ahead.
around. Okay, so you graduated in 59. So what was Westmoreland like in 1959?
Oh my goodness. Well, we didn't have anything to do much, and we had in the old ag building on the hill, what didn't burn when the school burned. They had what they call a sock hop, and we was fortunate enough we'd get to go to that on Saturday nights, and that was really about all we did have, you know.
What is a sock hop? Exactly.
It's a dance.
Well, I get that, but like, what distinguishes it from other types of?
I think it was called a sock hop because you had to take your shoes off.
No,
Why was it called a sock hop?
well, I don't really know, but back then everybody wore bobby socks. You know what I'm
Ah,
saying?
yeah.
And if you didn't get it from there, I don't know.
Yeah, because I've heard of it, and I didn't know how it was distinguished from other kinds of parties. But anyway,
And it was rock and roll, you
Mhm.
know. That was the rock and roll age
Yeah.
back then. And I have to say, me and Betty was pretty good. we used to do that at school during our lunch period. We'd have a long. Of course, they don't have much time anymore, but we had a good time, plenty of time at lunch, you know, to eat. And we'd go in the auditorium, and we had a record player in there, and we'd play records and dance until time to go back to school class, you know.
yeah.
So the boys didn't care much for dancing, but the girls
Somebody's
liked it,
done.
so we just danced together. You know, so we liked it.
Well, I'm thinking of some of the things that I remember older. There was the truck stop, what they used to call truck stop, what's now Southern Service. Was that there as a so-called truck stop and restaurant?
I don't think so. It could have been, but now there was a restaurant on the other side.
Where Mapco used to be, wasn't it? Where Mapco used to be? Was that a restaurant?
Yeah, I think.
Where Mapco is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who had that. Leith, I think. Some Leith, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, there was a restaurant there. But back then, young people didn't go out and eat very much. I mean, it just wasn't a thing that,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't a thing that we did, because, you know, but we never went anywhere on Halloween. Mom wouldn't let us go nowhere on Halloween. And if it snowed, you didn't get out and play in the snow, because you was going to be sick if you did. So you didn't get out and play in the snow. And we didn't have a TV till, I don't know, I was in high school before we had a TV. And I was out of high school and working before we had a phone. So
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing like it is now.
Yeah,
you
no.
know. But the crime didn't seem as bad back then, or we didn't hear of it as like we can hear now. So much technology, you hear everything now. But back then, you didn't hear all that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but we did not do Halloween, and we did not do snow, and basketball games, I guess, was the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I was a cheerleader in 58 and 59.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because of Miss Pruitt, bless her heart. I thought I wanted to, I've always been heavy, and I would have loved to have been a cheerleader, and I said something to her about it one day, and she said, well, try out. I said, no, I can't do that, because I said, I'm too heavy. She said, if you try out, you don't never know till you try. So I tried out, and then I was elected cheerleader, and that really surprised me, because I was heavy, you know. But back then, we didn't wear skirts up to here.
Yeah.
Either. We had skirts down here.
Yeah.
And bobby socks like about that much meat in your skirt. So
Well, who were some of the people? Let's go back to Providence for a minute. Who were some of the people that you went to school with at Providence?
let's see. Wayne Akins, Miss Virginia Reed and Noe Reed, let's see, Johnny Pearson, Patricia Dennon. They was in my class. That was the three that went to high school from Providence the year that I went. Me and Patricia and Johnny. And I want to thank Betty. Betty Faye Dennon might have went when I went. She was older than me, but it seemed like she went when I did. And I'm sure some of the McCormick boys did, but I don't remember which ones. and we didn't have a lot of, I guess maybe some of the McCormick, maybe Margie McCormick and her sister Margaret. And I know her brother Charles and her brother Jim went to Providence when I did. And Steve probably went. Steve Coates and probably a couple of his sisters, Judy and Carol, I guess, went. But that's all I can remember. We didn't. Mom was a cook at Providence for a long time.
Cool.
They built a little cafeteria, little room on the back of the school for the cafeteria, and we had shelves around the wall and benches, and we ate off the shelf and sat on the benches. And by the way, when we were talking about that, if there wasn't room for everybody to sit down, guess who got to stand up? Me.
You? Oh my goodness.
Mama make me stand up.
Oh yeah.
And let somebody else sit down, And
Oh gosh.
William Harrell probably went to Providence when I did. And I don't know. My first job was at the shoe factory.
Mm-hmm.
And I rode with the McCormick boys and Miss Dorothy Thompson and Miss Eva Creasy rode. They had a station wagon, and we all rode to work together at the shoe factory. Someone worked at what they call the old shoe factory, and someone worked at what they call the new shoe factory.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I got my phone. If I paid the bill, I got the phone, so I paid the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And
How much was you making?
oh, nothing. Practically nothing. When me and Ed first married, he worked at the London plant, and I worked at Portland Shirt Factory,
Mm-hmm.
and he was making $1.10 an hour, and I was making $65, I think, an hour. And we lived in Portland in the Uppy house for a while. I can't think what that man's name was. We ran in, and then we moved to Oak Grove after that, and then we moved to Westmoreland after that, and two houses, and then we bought this in 1961. We married in 1960. We moved around a whole lot of here.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, I did not know that Grandma was a cook at Providence.
I didn't know.
may
You
have
didn't
known
know that?
I may have known it at some point. Well, here's another question about, now it was a restaurant, not a store over here. Okay, I took the boys to Cynthia and got their hair cut this week, and she said someone was coming in there talking about a restaurant or a store, and a woman had a knife that had sliced so much bologna that the knife had sort of curved to the bologna. Was that Grandma, or was it?
I don't think so, because Russell Spears was the backer for that restaurant when Mom and Daddy done it. And I don't know, we did it quite a while. And but Mom and Dad worked for Russell on Sundays in his grocery store. Down here where the old Spears store is.
Carol Spears'
Yeah.
Yeah.
They worked for him on Sunday there for a while. And then they opened the restaurant. And we lived upstairs, and the restaurant was, let me think now. Calvin Miller, I think, where BP is now,
Mm-hmm.
had a garage and a restaurant too. And right there, I think it was Calvin. Pretty sure it was Calvin Miller. But now that was in the, I'd say that was probably early 50s. Because, let's see, I went back to Providence for a while to school, and then when I graduated, we come to Westmore. But I think that was Calvin Miller, and what was that man's name? We had one cop, and his name was Hoskins. I can't think of his name. I can't think of his first name, but he was a great big guy, and he could handle almost any situation that come up by himself because he was so big, you know. And so he was the only cop that we had, but teenagers didn't have cars back then. Very few teenagers had cars.
Mm-hmm.
Very few, you know. And we just didn't get out much because it wasn't nowhere to go or nothing to do.
Yeah.
If you had a date and you wanted to go, you usually went to a movie or a basketball game, you know, and that wasn't much else going on, you know.
So what did you end up doing at home or whatever to keep occupied if you weren't doing chores?
Well, there wasn't much to do. We used to play games some. I can't think. We used to play Authors, something called Authors. It was a card game, I think. I can't remember. I think it was called Authors.
Mm-hmm.
We used to play that, and we used to, let's see, Jacks.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
when we were smaller, we played those. When we got bigger, we didn't. But
Right.
And just usually card games or checkers or there used to be one called something about Wild Goose or something. It was a board game, and you made your own board.
Right. Yeah.
You made your own checkerboard,
Mm-hmm.
and we played bingo, and you know, we wasn't a whole lot to do. You know, we worked when we was home too. I mean,
Right.
you know, we had to work.
And what did Pa and Grandma make you do? What kind of work did you have to do around the house?
Daddy didn't have any boys, so in the summer we did boy work. We hoed tobacco, and we set tobacco, and we he tried to teach us to plow, but that never did work too good. And we used to ride the ground, what they call a ground slide. You don't know what that is, I'm sure.
Mm-mm.
But anyways, it was pulled by mules, and it was a flat thing, and they logged the ground with it, busted up dirt clods with that thing,
Okay.
and me and Betty would have to ride that thing and to mash it down so it would do the clods, you know.
Yeah.
And we've done a little fencing in our time, and then after me and Ed married, he was working at, I'm not sure, General Electric, maybe on down in the years. He worked for Gapco, the first part of the time he was married. And then him and Daddy they would cut wood on Saturdays,
Mm-hmm.
and then me and Daddy would deliver it during the week time. We had an old blue Dodge pickup truck, and we would deliver it during the week time, you know. And we did the laundry for Mama, and I did the cooking, and Mom did the dishes after supper, and Betty was supposed to do the house. When she was dating Steve, she didn't get around to doing much housework just before Mom come in. And she'd do housework. We had to carry water. We didn't have water in the house, so we had a well, but it was sulfur water. We couldn't use it.
So where'd you get the water?
Over the Granny and Janie and Pop Bluford's old house on the corner there, or at the end of the road, we'd have to go over there and draw water out of their well. Of course, we didn't have an indoor toilet either. We had outdoor toilet.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, it didn't have no door on it either. And people think they have it hard now. Oh, foot, no way compared to what we was raised.
Mm.
But we always had plenty to eat,
Mm-hmm.
and we was always had warm. Was our house was always warm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling you about Daddy having appendicitis a while ago. We didn't have any wood cut that winter, and the neighbors went up on the hill in front of our house. There was a hill in front of our house across the road. They went up on that hill and chopped wood, and it was the year of the ice storm. You've heard about that. So, well, they would cut wood and turn it loose and let it slide down in the road, and then they would come down in the road and pick it up and put it on the porch for us.
Yeah, okay.
And so, and that's
Neighbors helped each other out.
Yeah, back then, if anybody needed anything, they seen you got it somewhere or the other,
Mm-hmm.
And we was the same way with helping other people,
Mm-hmm.
It was just a community like job, I mean, you felt for other people and other people felt for you, so.
Yeah.
But we had a good childhood as far as the food and a warm place to stay. We didn't have a lot of frills, clothes, and all that kind of stuff, but we managed. We got along. We appreciated what we did have,
Mm-hmm.
And,
Well, speaking of food, we were discussing hog killing time the other night. So tell us a little bit about that, because a lot of people can relate to that.
well, Daddy always wanted to kill hogs on Thanksgiving Day. Don't ask me why, I don't know, but he did. In rain, or sleet, or snow, or sunshine, it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to kill hogs on Thanksgiving Day. Well, the neighbors all got together. Daddy had what they call a hog box, scalding box,
Mm-hmm.
and they would build a fire under that thing and get the water scalding hot. And then they'd kill the hogs and put them in that thing, and then that way they could clean the hair off,
Get the
and
hair off,
everything.
yeah.
And we'd always have a bunch of people there on hog killing day,
Mhm.
killing different people would bring in hogs and kill them hogs.
Mm-hmm.
And Daddy always put them in the smokehouse. He would trim the meat and put them in what they called he called a seasoning box, I think. Salting box, what he called
Salt
it.
box, okay.
And he'd put the meat in there and then puts the salt over it, layer it,
Mm-hmm.
and would stay in that box so long. I don't know how long, but it would stay in that box so long.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would take it out and hang it in the smokehouse on the rafters
Mm-hmm.
to cure.
Mm-hmm.
And on hog killing day, when they trimmed the meat, that's where you got the sausage from.
Yeah.
And we would grind sausage, and Mama would make domestic bags about that long,
Mm-hmm.
and you stuffed them full of sausage. And he hung that in the smokehouse
Mm-hmm.
and smoked it at a certain time.
Yeah.
That sausage is really good. By the way, Cracker Barrel has a smoked sausage for breakfast that tastes almost like what you put in the smokehouse, But we always done that. And Mama always canned a lot of stuff in the summer, Of course, Daddy raised a big garden. Always canned a lot of stuff in the summer. And then after a few years later, we got to killing beef. He'd raise beef cattle, and take them to Scottsville and get them processed, in Harry
Luther Douglas.
Douglas's meat packing place. So we always had plenty to eat, We just didn't have no frillies much, at all. And I had to do.
Let me, before I forget this, the hams and stuff out in the smokehouse, but Grandma and Pa didn't have a freezer back then, right? So what about the rest of the meat? I mean,
well, they salted everything except the tenderloin. And let's see, I think that was it. Because on hog killing day, Mom always cooked dinner, and everybody ate that was there to kill hogs,
Yeah.
And she'd fry tenderloin, and then the next day or so, she would do ribs and neck bones and liver, I think, and heart, all in a big kettle. She'd boil all that, and it was good. I mean, it sounds messy, but it was good,
Yeah.
And then sometimes Mom never did make press meat, but a lot of people did, with the leftovers,
Yeah.
stuff like that. They make press meat, but we never did like that stuff.
So did she? I know some people can some meat. Did she ever can?
No,
some?
she never did. But Grandma Menor and Pa Will always canned sausage every year. We'd go down there and they would. Pa Will was, of course, Grandma Menor wasn't able to do much. She had, I think, hardening of the arteries or something other, and she wasn't able to be up and do much. And Pa Will, he knew how to do all that, And and when we was kids, we'd go down there at Christmas, and he had a big old one of those big old bell pear trees in his yard, and before they get ripe every year, he would go out there and pick a bunch of them off, wrap them in newspaper, and put them in a big old box, take them up in the attic, and then Christmas time we had fresh pears for Christmas.
Cool.
Wow, that's neat.
Wow. Yeah.
We always loved those pears.
Well, that's cool.
Now, something I think I mentioned to Casey before. Now, Grandma worked at the Portland Shirt Factory. Okay. My mama says that Grandpa had something to do with the building of that building.
Yeah, he did. Him and what was that man's name? He worked for this man. I tell you where the man used to live. He was an older like man then. You know that store going towards Portland that sits on the left there?
Parker's,
I guess.
or yeah.
The next house, brick house, down in the field like there.
Yeah.
Claiborne.
Okay.
That's what it was. He worked for him for a while in carpenter work, and I think they did work on that building some,
Okay. Cool.
And that's the building that is down off the road from Dairy Queen, right?
It's behind Dairy Queen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Thought
Yeah.
so.
It was Portland Shirt Factory for a gazillion years.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mama worked there for a long, long time, and then she come to Westmoreland and worked for several years too. She worked for Westmoreland when she retired.
Yeah.
And she worked at the shoe factory for a while, and Dad did too when they were younger.
And the shoe factory was the biggest factory around because
Yeah.
a lot of people from up in here
Oh yeah.
went.
And where
worked there.
was the shoe factory?
The shoe factory was located off of, I can't remember. Well, I think that it may be called Factory Street. It's Southwater going toward the big bridge.
Now that was the new one. The old one
okay.
was in town, where the law offices are now on the left, and you go into Gallatin from 31.
Yeah.
And I think it's law offices now.
Yeah.